So, good morning. Happy Monday. I'm glad that you are here. It's been great seeing in the chat some of the things you guys have been up to over the weekend. And I hope that you recharged your batteries a little bit, got a chance to spend some time with family, and are just excited to kick off the week ahead because I know that great things happen when we expect them to. And it's all about, it's all about our mindset. We were created with the capability to dream big, to expect big, to produce big, and to touch a lot of people in the process. And so we've been talking about kind of how to create a strong foundation for a healthy mindset and a positive outlook on life. And we touched on a few different things. This week, we're going to kind of go a little bit deeper before we branch out into some new topics. And we talked about how important it is to have vision, but one thing I love about doing these calls is I think we're really creating space to give ourselves time to process. And so, this is one of the reasons why I encourage you guys to be active in the chat, even if it's just repeating something that was said. It helps you learn it to a different degree when you write it down. It helps you learn it when you repeat it. When you rehash the thoughts at the end of this call and come on and share your perspective, is really valuable. And so, I know that the more clear we can get on our vision, the faster we're going to move towards it. And it can be really easy to be stuck in the present or to view things from the perspective of what we're dealing with right now. Sometimes we're so close to the situation that we can't, not that we can't, but we don't necessarily allow ourselves to see beyond it. And so, talking about the power of vision and being able to see beyond where we're at today is kind of the goal. Um, and so, what I would ask you is, what do you see when you look at your future? Do you have a clear vision of where you want to get to? And it may be, we make dream boards and we make our dreams of like the things we want to have, but also the person that we want to become is really important. And so we talked about that um, as well, just in saying, like, are we looking at where we are? Are we looking at where we're going? Are we looking at all of the aspects, right? It's like we can be, do, have, give, live more in every aspect of our life. And so when we have a vision on what that looks like in every aspect, it's really like the big picture of pulling it all together. And we've talked about some different people over the last couple of weeks. I was sharing with you about Sarah Blakely, I shared a quote from her this morning in our group as well. But we talked a little bit about Walt Disney, and how he was once fired for lacking imagination, right? But he had a vision that was so strong, and he knew that he could create something that was going to make a lasting impression. And so even after he passed, Walt Disney has continued on to build his vision because he was able to communicate it so clearly with others. And so, some people have said, like, oh, it's a shame that Walt Disney didn't get to see the result of what he created in life. And what is funny is that other people will say, like, he didn't miss it. He did get to see it. He didn't see it in reality, but he could see it in his dream and in his vision. His vision existed long before reality caught up. And so I think it's the same thing for us. If we have that vision of who we want to be, of what kind of family we want to be, of what kind of children we want to raise, like all of those things, we're actually creating our vision every day in the way that we handle every situation that we face. And so I think that successful leaders, successful entrepreneurs, people that are change makers in the world, we are the ones who don't just react to things, right? We can be reactionary or we can be proactive in our life. And I think when we have a vision, we become proactive, where we are operating from our vision of the future, and the decisions that we make, the way that we interact on a day-to-day basis, are based on that. So I hope that today you can kind of dig a little bit deeper into discovering what your own vision is, how to create a vision that's going to drive us to create success in our life, and practical ways that we can kind of set a plan in motion to move forward towards those dreams. So, our vision is really like having that clear mental picture. It's when you close your eyes and you can envision it as if it's reality. And we've talked about how important it is to journal in the present tense of saying, I'm so happy and grateful and thankful that I have this already, because we have to be able to see it so clearly that our expectations have shifted because we really believe that that is our reality. And so we have to have a desire to achieve something. So what is that that you want in your life that you have that next vision for? Right? And you could break it down to each individual aspect of your life in your faith walk. What is the vision of the person that you've become and the life and the habits that you have, in your parenting? What is the tone that you set in your home? What do your kids talk about? What do your kids do and produce and impact in their life? Maybe that's part of your vision. Um, when it comes to your business, what's your vision? What rank are you going to get to? How big is your team or your organization going to be? What's your income goal? All of those things we can get really clear and we can nail down exactly what it is. When it comes to your health and your fitness, what are some goals that you have for yourself? We talked about simple habits like drinking more water. So drop in the chat if you guys remembered to get your water before we started this morning, because we're building new habits here. And this is one thing that many of us, we say we want to drink more water. We know it's important for us to do it, but yet we don't build in the habit. And so I hope that before you jump on these calls in the morning, you start that habit with get yourself a cup of water and start your day well. So I have actually a pair of little binoculars that I put away, but I wanted to find to pull out for you this morning. And they were something that was a gift to me that has been really impactful. And it's just a little pair of binoculars. And on the side, it has that verse from Proverbs that says, where there's no vision, people perish, right? And that is like, we know that all truths, the truths are the truths are the truths. And that is a truth. If we don't have a vision, we are not, if you're not growing, you're dying. Right? As morbid as that phrase sounds, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so if we don't have a vision, we're killing our dreams. We're killing our vision. And so we really need to have that. The way that our brain works too, the psychology behind us having a vision is actually really powerful. And if you know about how your brain works, we have this reticular activating system. And that is something that it really matters that we have our brain working in alignment with what we're focusing on. And we're getting really clear on that. And studies show, oh, sorry, it's like telling I'm getting messages from people that there's people trying to get in. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. All right, hopefully that let everybody in. I am so sorry, guys. It was not showing me the waiting room. I was looking at the bottom of the participants list, so I didn't see that. All right, glad to hear it. Kimberly's got her water this morning. I hope some of you guys have your water. And for those of you that just jumped on, my apologies. We are talking about vision this morning. Thanks so much, Toya, for messaging me. Glad to hear it. All right. My apologies. I'll make sure I keep that waiting room popped up. So we were just talking about having a vision and how having a vision is so important. Without vision, people perish. Our brain is going to work to bring about what we expect to see in our life. And so um, we have talked about people that have vision. Walt Disney, we were just mentioning, who people said lacked imagination, but he had a vision. He didn't see things come to reality because he passed away, but he was able to see his vision before it was even created. And Sarah Blakely, I've told you guys I really enjoyed hearing her kind of um, story of her life and how she created the success that she has and how she had this vision of transforming the fashion industry. And she kept seeing herself as a successful entrepreneur long before it happened, right? And so, do you see yourself at the rank you want to be, with the life you want to have, with the success you want to create, with the bank account you envision, with the habits and the um, routine that you see yourself having? And do you have the resolve that no matter what opposition you face, no matter how many times people tell you no, you're going to stay focused on your vision until it happens? And even if you face rejection, even if you have people who don't believe in you, you believe in yourself so much. You believe in that vision yourself so much, that you're clear on it. And so if you gave yourself a few moments to have some self-reflection, and if you closed your eyes and you envision, what does your life look like 5 years from now? Okay. And this is just envisioning you, because sometimes I think we can get hung up on, like, what is the world even going to look like 5 years from now, right? Things are shifting so quickly. And so sometimes we start to think about the future. And we're like, what is that going to look like when it comes to technology, when it comes to community and society and politics and all those things. But let that all go and just picture for yourself, what if you could create success for yourself, what does that look like to you? And again, maybe you choose one area where you want to share. Maybe it's your faith, maybe it's your family, maybe it's your business, maybe it's your finances, maybe it's your daily habits and your health and routine. Um, Feel free to drop in the chat if there's something that you can envision for yourself. If you were to look 5 years from now, what does life look like? What does your business look like? How do you feel? Okay. Because I really believe that when it comes to your why is most clearly defined by how you're going to feel, right? When sometimes people will say, like, what's your why? Well, I want to have this. Okay, but why? Why do you want to have that? If you allowed yourself to continue digging into your why, it was one of the most powerful experiences that I had, at a personal development seminar that I went to. And we partnered up and we sat in a room. We had to sit with our chairs facing each other. We actually had to have our knees touching each other. Okay. So this was a little uncomfortable because it was complete strangers, right? Maybe some of you guys have had a similar experience. And we sat down and we shared with each other, what our why was. And we dug deep into this. And so our only goal was to kind of mirror for each other. And so I would say, tell me what your why is, and they would answer you and you would say, okay, but why? Okay, but why? And we had to just ask that same question about 60 times. And it was really uncomfortable at first, right? Because you're like, well, I've said what I want to have or what I want to do. And that doesn't necessarily give you a clear picture. But when you're forced to continue digging deeper, but why do you really want to have that? Okay, but why do you really want to have that? When you get to the root of it, it tends to be something about how we feel. And how are you going to feel in the moment when you have that? I remember one girl saying, well, my why is, to build a new deck in our backyard. I want to create my income so that I can build this deck. And it was like, okay, but why do you want to build the deck? And it came down to the fact that it stemmed from her childhood and her upbringing and her wanting to create a space where she could invite other people to come, and they would build these relationships and they would spend this time making memories together. And it was so much more powerful than her saying, I want to build a deck. And so I want you to give yourself time right now to dig a little bit deeper and ask yourself, why do I want to have that? How am I going to feel when I eventually accomplish this thing that I'm setting out as a goal for myself? So, as you write those, I'm gonna Oh, perfect. Thank you, Shauna. Okay, so I want to have a better relationship with God. I want to have financial freedom. My vision is senior director by the end of this year, taking my family to Disney World, Universal Studios, Legoland, and giving my kids options. Okay. How is it going to feel when you get to be the yes mom? Right? When you get to take them there. We just went out with friends for lunch yesterday, and they just got back from Disney this week, and they were sharing like it was like $3,000 for one day of their passes to go, right? Imagine how it would feel to just, yeah, I'm just going to do that. And to not have to worry, right? What feeling is that going to have? Because typically we think about spending a large amount of money and we get a little bit choked up. We have these thoughts of like, oh, is it worth it? Can I afford it? And we start to go into that kind of scarcity mindset that we're working to avoid here. So I'm just talking you through this so you can think on all the levels of what that's going to look like, how that's going to feel when you get to be the yes mom, when you don't have to worry about the finances, if that's something that's a goal for you. But I'm sure it's not just about experiencing Disneyland. It's about giving your kids options, like you said, right? So allow yourself to dig a little bit deeper, guys. Okay, next 5 years, I want to build my house. My kids are so grateful for having a house they can experience outside experiences I had as a kid. I'm overjoyed with a grateful heart and helping others reach their goals and dreams. I love helping others, and with more money, I can help more people. I want to prove to others who grew up poor that they can build a successful business and the things that they want. Wow, I can feel that. I can feel that in your comments here, right? That sense of pride and reward to know that you are helping someone else build that life that isn't necessarily what you had, or helping your kids have that experience, to pay off some debt so things aren't so tight. I want to leave my corporate job to be home with my kids and my husband more. I want financial freedom to travel and make memories with my family that I never had. I want a safe, fun, memorable home for my children to thrive in. That is so powerful. Absolutely. That's freedom. I want to go D3 and take some financial stress off my husband, right? Imagine like the sense of pride that you'll have to be a contributor on the level that you feel is what matters. My why is buying a house, Disney and buying a bigger vehicle, financial security overall. Yes. Helping my son purchase his first home this year on a property that we can call our family homestead. I love that. We were looking, my brother and I were joking and sending back and forth memes of well, not memes, but like it was actually a location of building a family compound of like all the houses on one street. And I'm really excited actually because for convention this year, some of you are going to convention. Let me know if I'll see you there. But we have rented a house on a street where it's all houses for rent. And so there's two other leaders and myself so far, at least. I know that I've rented houses on the street, and so we're going to have this little commune for for the week of conference, and really excited about that. I would love to have my husband home full time. We homeschool, so it would be so helpful. I want him to be able to do something fun that he enjoys on his own time. Exactly. I'll be there. Perfect. Stress off the hubs, travel, and just peace that financial freedom can bring. Yeah. It's that the freedom, right? The freedom is what we're chasing. It's not about the thing. It's not about the money. It's never about the money. It's about what the money will do for you or what you can do with the money, right? And so we have to remember that it's not about what we're going to have, it's about what we can do, and that freedom and that flexibility. And just imagine how you can take a breath a little bit more easily. You can go into the grocery store and you can spoil your family with all the foods that you want and not have to think twice about buying what's organic this week, or stocking up on some of their favorites, getting them those extras. So I love that. I hope that you could feel that as I read through some of those comments and as you maybe wrote it down for yourself. And I challenge you to do that. Go into your own messenger and send yourself a message, maybe as we go through these calls, even. Sometimes you may not feel confident enough to share with everyone else here, but at least share it with yourself. There is so much power in writing things down and in getting clear on your vision. And so I hope that you guys take the time to do that so you can look back a year from today and remember this moment and these thoughts that you had, right? Full shopping at Whole Foods without cringing at the total. Can you imagine, right? That is the dream for most of us. My husband has always worked so hard for our family, and his body and mental health has just been really beaten down. I want to retire him. He deserves to live to enjoy the life he's made for us. Guys, you know what? It doesn't come without sacrifice, but I'll tell you, my husband has been retired for 10, 11 years. He went back to work for about 6 months there, for a short stint, but the freedom that it's given us, it takes sacrifice. It takes, us investing in different ways, us getting creative in different ways. But if you have a vision of something that's important to you, that's something that you want to chase. And again, taking the time to write down your vision board. It's so funny if I showed you guys the YouTube video that we made. Oh, it's probably been 15, oh no, maybe it's been about 10 years, more than that now. Since we made, yeah, it would have been about 12 years ago, I guess. We made this vision board, anyways, the stream board, of the two of us, and we did it as a video. And then we ended up sharing it and posting it and putting it out there publicly about the dreams and the visions that we had. But one of them was for him to never go back to work. And so my two youngest have only known a life with their dad home. And that was a priority to us. But I went through a lot of things when my mom was sick and needed that freedom of time, right? And so in order to make the memories that I was able to make with my mom, I needed to bring my husband home, and we needed to make sacrifices so we could make that work. But that was part of our vision, and we got really clear on it. And then the decisions and the choices that we made took us to that place. So same thing for you. There's got to be things and decisions and choices you've made in your life to get you where you are now. But also when you want to elevate your vision and get to that next place in life, I know that God created each and every one of us. And if he puts a dream on your heart, he can bring it to fruition. There's so many verses that I could share with you where, he tells us, blessed is she who believes that the Lord has given what he's promised to her. We have to believe that it's possible first. Then we have to get clear on what that's going to look like. And then we have to take steps in faith towards it. And we also have to put the action behind it to give ourselves that life. So when we think about how we're going to feel waking up every morning, if you envision opening your eyes on a morning, of that new life, what does that look like? How does that feel? Think about the energy that's flowing through your body, the belief level that you would have, the excitement that you would have for life. That is the contagious feeling that you're going to chase as you move towards this vision. So if you write down that description of your future self, I hope you save it somewhere. So if you wrote it down in the chat, I encourage you to take it, copy it out, put it in your notes, send it to yourself in Messenger. If you don't do that, I do that all the time. I'll send myself a text or I'll send myself a messenger message. It's a great place to contain your thoughts. And I love being able to look back and see where I was a year ago, where my mindset was at, where my belief level was at, where my expectations were at, where was my thinking at? What kind of things was I focusing on? It's crazy. If you look back, in 2020, when we were going through COVID, what were some of the thoughts and fears that were going through your head, right? It's kind of scary when we look back and we realize we can allow ourselves to go to a place where we don't want to be, but unintentionally we allow ourselves to stay there because we're putting our focus on things that aren't serving us. And it might be the reality. I think last week we were talking about, somebody was mentioning about watching the news, right? And we can watch the present so much and get stuck in it. But is that creating the life that you want? Is that helping you be, more productive in your life? So I love this. Good morning. I'm so glad you made it to now. So yes, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Stay focused on the things that matter. My mornings will be less stressful. Yes, right? What is it that you don't love about the way your mornings are going that you can write whatever story you want to write. You can see that vision if you allow yourself to do that. I wrote a letter to my future self and thanked myself for reaching my goals. Yes, live in that space where you can get so clear on it, that you're telling the story as if it's happened. And there was another seminar that I did years ago, and I remember we all had to stand, we did our dream boards, we had to stand on the side of the room, and we had to think about the thing that would make us the most proud. the biggest goal that we were working towards right now. And then we just had to run out into the room and run up to someone that we didn't know, and we had to tell them about it, that we just accomplished whatever that thing was. And it was really powerful. And the funny thing is that the girl and I that ran up to each other and shared with each other, we live hours away from each other, but we have become really, really good friends. And she is someone who's become a huge encouragement to me in my life because that was a pivotal moment for me to share with someone else and talk about my biggest, grandest vision for my life as if it had already happened. And to have her celebrate that moment with me, even though it had not even happened, right? It bonded us in a way that is so cool. And so I'm excited for the relationships and the connections that end up happening in a space like this because we're allowing ourselves to see that vision and to be a part of it with each other and to encourage and cheer each other on. So we are going to face obstacles, okay? So this is knowing this, going into it as an entrepreneur, we are going to face obstacles. We're going to have challenges, but vision sees beyond the challenge, right? And so again, when we think about people, who's someone that you know their story where they could have given up on their dreams and their visions, like Sarah Blakely, she could have been taken out. Walt Disney could have been taken out. Steve Jobs could have been taken out, but instead of giving up on their dreams, when they faced the challenges, they got fired from their jobs. They, were told that they had no imagination, whatever it was. They could see so much beyond that they knew that wasn't their reality. They weren't going to listen to what other people said about them. And so we have to be the KFC owner. There you go. Oh my gosh. Side note, has anybody seen the newest commercial for KFC? It's a little disturbing. Anyways, but when we have this vision, we can shift our perspective. And so when we expect something to happen, instead of facing an obstacle and saying, oh, well, I can't do this. I don't have the skills, I don't have the resources, whatever. Our brain starts thinking like, how can I create them? I know that I'm going to move past this obstacle. So how am I going to overcome it? What do I need to learn? What do I need to have? Who do I need to contact? To be able to move beyond that. So when we can reframe things, and I'm going to continue to talk to you guys about this because for me, that's been one of the most powerful things is taking what seems to be the reality and shifting it. And even just with your words, speaking life over it, even though it may seem impossible in the moment, speaking life over it as if it's happened, reframing that obstacle as, your biggest challenge becomes your biggest stepping stone and believing that there's no mistakes, there's lessons that move us forward. So, what's your biggest current challenge in your business or in your personal life? What would that be for you if you were thinking, what is holding me back right now? What's the toughest thing that I'm facing? And then take that and I challenge you to rewrite it as an opportunity instead of, well, I don't have enough customers, right now, or I don't have enough people in my network. It's I have an opportunity to grow my network. The best people and new friends are about to come into my life and into my world. So once we have our business vision, our personal vision, and we identify our why, we start to see beyond what the thing is that we need to do. And we start to realize what's the problem that we're solving? Who are the people that we're serving? What is your why statement? Right? When we can get clear on the vision and we clarify the details, because having a vague vision is not going to inspire us. Um, we need to get so clear on it. If it's cloudy, we need to spend more time thinking about it or envisioning it until that picture becomes clear, right? Sometimes our eyesight is not 20/20. Sometimes we're trying to see something that is so far away that it's blurry and we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. And so instead of putting our head down and trudging forward, sometimes we need to allow ourselves space to really get so clear on what that looks like, to focus a little bit more until it comes into view. And it's like, that beer glass commercial. It's like we need to give ourselves time to like remove the glasses out of the way until we can actually see what the image is. So we we don't want to just say, I want to be successful, right? It's dialing down and saying, what does that success look like? I want to build a business that helps X amount of people, right? What's that number for you? I want to help I want to have, so many people on my in my organization, or I want to help my children be able to do XYZ. Like, what is that success? To help your children successfully launch into life, what is that going to look like? Is that going to look like helping them on a financial level? The personality that they have, their resolve in life, whatever it is, dial it down, write it down, get so clear on it that you know elements that are clear indicators that you've gotten closer to where you want to be. So when we refine our vision into that clear, specific, you've heard about SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, actionable, relatable, time oriented. Like you have to dial it down to get so clear on it. It's not having a goal of, I want to achieve X eventually. It's, I want to achieve X, Y, Z by such and such a date. And then moving towards that. And then you guys know it's so important that you align your vision with your faith, right? And for me, we can talk about people, entrepreneurs who have had a vision, but think about this. Abraham had a vision of becoming the father of nations, and he had no children. And he was how old, right? Like, imagine when you are at a place where it is physically impossible, according to the world standards. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. We take what is impossible to the average person who doesn't have the mindset for success. And we create something that most people will never have. I'm sure there is something that you have accomplished, whether it was in one day, you did something that you never thought you'd be able to do in a day. You met someone, you shared your opportunity, you got them started as maybe they started as a customer and they referred someone within their first day. For those of you that are in the same business, right? Or what does that look like within your business? You acquired, you added someone to your network, you acquired a new client, and you did business with them within a day. Maybe that seemed impossible for you at one point in time, but once you've done it, then you know that it can be done. Going back to running the 4 minute mile, right? And that was impossible. But as soon as someone breaks through the barrier, everyone can break through the barrier. So I know that God has a purpose for each and every one of us. His plans for us are good. And so he's given us a purpose and a plan and a vision that's going to come together in his perfect timing. But it's the same idea of like God gives us all the ingredients, but we've got to mix the cake and we've got to put in the time it takes to actually create it. So success is built on our small daily habits. It's the little things that we do when we get up every day. And so are you practicing? Are you building the muscle that it's going to take to have whatever success you want to make? Whether that is you want to be able to lift 100 pounds or lift 200 pounds, maybe it starts with you lifting 2 pounds and you building the muscle and building the strength. And you're going to next week, or tomorrow, you're going to go to 5 pounds and then 10 pounds and then 25 pounds. And you're going to build up your resilience. And it's going to be slow and it's going to be in stages, but it's because your goal is not just to lift 2 pounds. Your goal is to lift something greater. And so you have to slowly start working towards that. So, what are the daily habits that we can have to be visionary, to allow ourselves to see where we're going to get to? And I think that this kind of morning mindset visualization is very powerful. So, spend 5 minutes in the morning visualizing what you want as if it's real. Journal your progress, right? So you can look back and say, I was at this place where I didn't have the mindset for success, where I was questioning if I was going to make it, or where I set such small goals. And look, I've surpassed all of that. And so now I need to dream bigger. And having the courage to speak it into life. to speak it to your kids as if it's already happened, to speak it to your spouse as if it's already happened, to start telling people where you're going. How many times for those of us that are in business, where when someone says, well, what kind of success have you created? What kind of paychecks are you making? You know, and then we tend to like, like we think small of what we've done, and we're like, well, I've only made XYZ, right? Has anybody had an experience like this where someone asks you about the success that's possible in your business and you're like, well, all I've done so far is like, no, it's I am in the process of creating that, whatever it looks like for you. Maybe it's a check, maybe it's a rank, maybe it's a whatever, but like I am in the process of making that happen. And so you start speaking that into existence. You talk about where you're going, not about where you've been or where you're at, because that's going to inspire other people and it's going to draw them along with you towards that vision. So, if we were to give ourselves a 90-day challenge, and I think it's so important that we always have these like small pushes. And even though we've got the big goal, it's the same as like look at the next couple of steps in front of you up the staircase instead of getting so hung up, focused on what's ahead that you're going to trip over the steps that are in front of you because you don't know what they look like. Move your vision, and say, okay, I want to get here. So in order to do that, I'm going to look here. So studies show that it takes, some people say 21 days to build a habit, but the studies actually show it takes 66 days to form a habit, and it takes 90 days to create momentum. Have you guys heard this before? Because when I heard that, I thought, I want momentum. Momentum is something that we're always chasing, right? And so if we know that momentum happens in 90 days, we need to commit for 90 days and we need to work in these like 90-day stints. There's a book called The 12-Week Year. Has anyone else read this? And I love it because it talks about, it's not, we can set out our vision for a year, and we often do that in January. We sit down and we're like, this is what I want to do by next January. But then it's so far away that we don't start looking at what those first steps are. Yes. Okay. I'm glad that you guys have read it too. And so, if you were to map out your next 12-week year, that's 90 days from now, what is it going to look like to turn your vision into action? The book is called The 12-Week Year, Felicia. Um, yeah, earning the trip is a great example, Shauna, because we look at this fast track period of 90 days, right? What can we accomplish in 90 days? And so if you were to write down your 90-day vision and you broke it down into even just 3 key steps that you could take to move you towards your vision, what would those things be? And if you broke that down into monthly goals and weekly action steps, again, like chunk it down, then you can make your commitment. And I think having a commitment statement for each of your 90-day challenges is really powerful. What is your plan? Share it with an accountability partner and say, this is my commitment plan. I'm not just, oh, yes, I'd like to get there. I'm going to show up on these calls and I'm going to I'm moving forward in life, but without a clear vision. Like, I hope that this will be something that you guys actually take the time to write it down. Maybe share it in the group. Maybe find someone who has shared on one of these calls and connect with them and ask them to be your accountability partner. Say, I just want to practice speaking life over what it is that I want to have and where I want to go, because vision is seeing beyond the present. It's seeing no matter the hurdle, the obstacle, the mountain that gets in my way, I already know what's on the other side. It's like taking that. It's funny. It makes me think this weekend I was playing Mario Party with my kids. I don't know if you guys do this, but my kids love to play. And it's like the Mario Party board game. And so, you can like start and figure out where are you at on the big map, where's the star? Where are you? And then you map out your plan for how you're going to get there. And it's just one of those exact same situations of what we're doing, right? You can look at where you're standing, but you can only see around you. And I will share with you guys over time things that my mom did. You can look back in your life and there's like these pivotal moments that shaped your thinking. And so I was homeschooled growing up, for those of you guys that don't know my story. And I'm one of five kids. And my mom was not a teacher, but she was the absolute best teacher. And I'm so grateful for the extra time that we got with her as kids because my mom was just such a beautiful soul and she loved the Lord. And I'm so grateful for her example. But I remember her taking this map. Some of you guys may have heard this story, but she laid out a map on the kitchen table, and we were just little kids at the time. And she took two pieces of paper, and through one she put a pinprick, and one she cut out, and so it was like the whole page, just the frame, right? And so she showed us two spots on the map, and it was like this is where we are, and this is where we want to get. If we were going to go on a vacation to Florida, I think it was. And so she said, I want you to tell me how you would get there, right? So we looked at the map and we could see what routes that we were going to take, what cities we were going to go through, all of that sort of thing. And then she had us stand up on a chair. That was a big deal for us as little kids, right? We got to stand on a kitchen chair over top of the table and look through the pinprick. And she asked us to try and tell her how we were going to get from point A to point B. And you can imagine that holding that little pinprick, you're trying to look around at the map and you can't see it all at once. And so you try to find the spot where you are and then you try to look all around. And it was difficult. And it made such an impression on me because she then gave us the frame, right? So it was like a piece of paper you could stick your whole head through. And so, of course, we could see the entire map and we could explain um, what it was going to take to get from point A to point B. And she just said, guys, this is the way that we look at our life is through the pinprick. We can't see it all. We don't know what is going to come across our path, what areas we have to go through before we can get to our goal. But the frame, that's how God sees our life. And I think that will always stay with me because I know that even when I can't see the vision of where I'm going, even when I get lost and I feel overwhelmed and I feel like I'm so stuck, only able to focus on the things that are right around me that I can see, I know that God has the plan for my life and he sees the full picture. And so that's why I need to rely on him and know that he can give me the strength to say, yes, I will get beyond this. I will reach my goals. I will get to the end result. And so I hope that for you, that's something that helps give you that visual that, get around people who have a bigger vision than you. Spend time I truly believe that God will give you the vision that is meant for you because his plans for you are good. And so um, I hope that this empowers you to vision seeing beyond the present, to know that bigger things are possible, to know that obstacles won't stop you. If you're a visionary person, you're just going to refine your approach. You're going to find a different angle to come from. You're going to put your focus on something that's productive, on something that you can change. You're going to create daily habits that are going to move you forward towards that success. If there's skills that you have to learn, you got to start somewhere with learning those skills. You can't expect to knit a blanket and not know how to knit a stitch. It starts with something small. So I guess the challenge is are we ready to take the ownership of our vision? And are we willing to do what it takes to actually make it a reality? And this is that moment for like self-check, right? And I challenge you because, again, we can speak life over ourselves and force it into our reality by saying, I am a visionary. I see beyond my circumstances. I'm going to walk boldly in the life that I know that God's called me to, and I'm going to step into my purpose because our purpose is so much greater than we're living up to right now for all of us. And that's going to be a constant struggle and something we need to strive towards for the rest of our life. We are creating the life that we want, the life that we envision. We are creating impact, whether we like it or not. We're having influence on our children and on other people in our life. And we are creating success. But what that success looks like is really up to us. So our vision isn't just a dream. It's something that is going to be our future reality that's waiting for us if we expect that and if we claim it. So I hope that you feel encouraged to walk boldly into that future, to get really clear on your vision today, and to just communicate that with someone else. Write it down, even if it's just for yourself. But I challenge you, having accountability partners, having someone else that you can speak that to is really powerful. Does anybody have anything that they want to add? Because I love hearing your guys' feedback and perspective. So feel free to unmute yourself or type into the chat. I'm going to read through our messages here. Yeah, you've got a roadblock, but you're looking for ways around it. That's it. Eyes up. Yeah, if you're looking for an accountability partner, I love that, Shauna. Speak out and find someone here who also is working towards that same goal, right? It's going to take persistent effort, consistent effort. And for those of you guys that are doing fast track or in our business, like there is so many reasons why fast track makes sense, right? That 90-day push, but having the daily check-ins, and it's interesting when you hear from people. This is only my second fast track, but hearing from people that have done this for years and knowing how the first month is the hardest, right? You're planting so many seeds, you're not seeing as much result for the effort that you're putting in. Month 2, it starts to pick up, but month 3 is actually when you see the most results, but only if you stay consistent through the whole process. And unfortunately, too often in life, people give up in the beginning stages when they're not seeing the results that they want, right? We get so hung up in instant gratification that we expect to see the efforts or the reward for our efforts immediately when it's delayed gratification. And we have to be willing to continue putting in the work, believing that we're going to get there, having the vision that it's going to happen, see yourself on the beach, see yourself getting that email, and know that you can make it happen. But if you give up, it's the same concept as, popping a bag of microwave popcorn. And if you put it in and you turn on the timer, it only takes what, 2.5 minutes to pop a bag of microwave popcorn. But if you keep opening the door, you delay the process. And it's going to take you more than 2.5 minutes to get that bag popped. And probably half of it isn't even going to pop. You'll lose the chance for it to become the full bag of popcorn it could have been. And so, anyhow, I encourage you to just keep the heat on, keep the pressure on, stay focused on your vision. Does anybody have anything they want to share?
This was so good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy. I'm so glad you're here.
Yes, I
So,
would say uh, if you haven't read the book, The Gap in the Gain,
yes.
that is so good. I'm actually listening to it again on Audible because we can get fixated on our ideal, our ideal self, our ideal scenario, and then think, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not there. I'm not there. But if you think of the gain, like, look at how far I've come. Look at how many relationships I have built. Look how many, customers I have gained. Look how much my mindset has changed. And it just totally shifts your attitude. Like you were saying all this today. It just, I'm always going to promote that book because it's just so true. We can get stuck. Um, but so good today. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love it. Thank you for bringing up that book too. The Gap in the Gain is definitely an amazing one. And again, guys, I'm going to say to you, like Amy's saying, get it on Audible. You know, positive in equals positive out. So make sure you're filling your tank with things that are helping you to have that visionary belief. Anybody else? Right. Over time, we're going to get less shy with each other. I know some of you guys
I
are
just wanted
working.
to say something,
Yes,
Barb,
go ahead,
that
Felicia.
just continue, girls. I don't know where everybody's at in their journey, but just continue because it took me 2 years and 3 months to hit director.
Wow.
And this month, if not next month, I'll hit director too. So don't give up. Just know that it is going to come eventually. And right now, you might not see the results, but you will in the future.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah, it takes time. And you know what? Sometimes we can't grow past that lid that we put on ourselves. I think we're going to take a we're going to dive into, and I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about the 5 levels of leadership, because I think, once we realize that we have to raise our lid, it's not even possible for us to break past that, um, if we set that for ourselves. And so I think that's so important, right? Is we can only lead people as far as we've come to. And so we have to go through the tough things first. We have to have the breakthroughs first so we can help other people have the breakthrough. But if we're not in a space, when I think back over my first couple of years in business, my first people that I had the opportunity to lead, I probably was an absolutely terrible leader, and I learned a lot along the way, and we grow the more we do it. We can't expect to be perfect, but we have to take the steps forward and do it for ourselves. So congratulations, Felicia. I'm excited for you to get there. Amazing. All right.
Thank you.
Well, I will close us out then, and we can get on with our day. But I hope that you guys have a beautiful week, and we will see you back here tomorrow morning. So, all right, dear Lord, I just want to thank you for the time for us to come together and start our day. God, I just want to ask that today you would download to each and every one of us the vision that you have for who we're meant to be. Inspire us in all the different areas of our life, of where we can make an impact in the world around us and in our families, in our homes, in our businesses, in our teams. And I just pray that you will fill us up today so that your light flows out of us, and we can inspire others around us to step forward and to dream a little bit bigger in their life. So I thank you for this time that we've been able to spend here today. I pray a blessing over each and every one of us as we walk out into the world. And thank you that your plans for us are good. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys. Well, have a great day. If anybody took a picture this morning, feel free to tag me or send it my way. But it's nice for us to be able to share with other people too, that you're doing something to invest in yourself. Remember that to be an expert at anything means that you are 10% ahead of someone else. And so you are an expert when it comes to mindset, because you have given an hour of your day today to invest in thinking bigger. So let that be an encouragement to you, and go and inspire other people, and have an absolutely beautiful day. And we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye, guys.